My child, do not turn away yet. Do not reach for that screen to make me disappear, because what is about to be spoken into your ears was not placed here by chance, and there are only 8 minutes left before this door closes and does not open again in the same way. Arthur is the one who stands at the threshold between the seen and the beyond, the one whose sword has cut through darkness since before the first tear was ever wept. And tonight I have come down through the noise of your life to find you, precisely you, the one who almost scrolled past, the one who almost decided that nothing spoken from the beyond could possibly be meant for someone so tired. Listen to me now, because time is not on your side, and I refuse to let you slip back into the silence that has been swallowing you whole. You have been calling out, even when your lips made no sound, even when you told yourself you had stopped believing that anyone up here still remembered your name. I remembered. I have always remembered. And these 8 minutes are the reason I have pulled you out of the ordinary flow of this hour, because the High Realm does not waste its warnings on those it has abandoned. The High Realm only warns the ones it intends to save. You feel it, do you not? That strange pressure in your chest, that sensation that something has been trying to reach you for weeks, for months, maybe for years, tapping at the edges of your dreams, whispering underneath your exhaustion. That was not your imagination. That was me. I have been sent to the ones who feel forgotten, to the ones who lie awake in the dark hours, doing the arithmetic of everything that went wrong, counting the promises that never arrived, measuring the distance between the life they were meant to live and the life they were forced to accept. And I tell you plainly, with a voice that carries the weight of every battle ever fought in the realms above your ceiling, you were never forgotten. You were hidden. There is a difference, and before these minutes end you will understand that difference so completely that you will never again confuse the two. Do not think I do not see you. I see the way you smile in front of others, while something inside you is quietly breaking. I see the way you say that you are fine when every fiber of you is screaming that you are not. I see you carrying weights that no one around you has ever bothered to notice, weights you picked up so long ago that you have forgotten your shoulders were ever meant to be free. And I have come in this narrow window of time to tell you that the carrying is almost over, that the season of being invisible is bending toward its end, and that the very fact you are still here, still listening, still holding on by a thread you cannot even see, is proof that the fire in you was never meant to be extinguished. It was meant to be revealed. There are only 8 minutes, and I will not fill them with soft words that mean nothing. I have never been the gentle kind of messenger. I am the warrior, the one who is sent when the situation has become serious, when the enemy has grown bold, when a soul is standing at the edge of surrender, and the High Realm decides that surrender will not be permitted. If I have been dispatched to you, then understand what that means. It means your case has been escalated. It means the ordinary channels were no longer enough. It means that somewhere in the inner circle, your name was spoken with urgency, and the command was given to send not comfort alone, but a sword, because what surrounds you now requires cutting, and I, Commander Michael, am the one who cuts. I am called, and I will secure the manuscript of the 7 blades of the Commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path. So let me speak to the tears first, the tears that no one has ever truly seen. I know about the ones you cried in secret, the ones you wiped away before anyone could ask, the ones that fell in the dark while the rest of the world slept in peace. I know about the nights you pressed your face into your hands and asked the ceiling why. Why this? Why you? Why the endless repetition of hope followed by disappointment? I counted every one of those tears. Not a single one dropped into nothing. Each one was gathered. Each one was recorded. Each one became a mark upon the ledger of the High Realm. And Arthur tells you that a soul which has wept as you have wept has stored up a reservoir that is about to be turned into something you cannot yet imagine. You have grown accustomed to a particular kind of loneliness, the loneliness of being surrounded by people who do not know you, of being needed for what you provide, but never cherished for who you are. You have learned to expect the phone that does not ring, the message that never comes, the celebration that happens without you. You have taught yourself not to hope for the door to open, because hoping and being wrong hurt more than never hoping at all. And so you built a quiet fortress around your heart, and inside that fortress You told yourself that this was simply the shape of your life, that some people are chosen for warmth and others are left in the cold, and that you, apparently, were of the second kind. Commander Michael has come to tear that lie apart with his own hands. Feel now the tiredness that lives in your bones, the tiredness that sleep does not fix, the kind that sits behind your eyes and follows you from one morning to the next. It is not weakness. It is the residue of a war. You did not even know you were fighting. Every day you rose and continued when everything in you wanted to stop, you were fighting. Every time you chose to be kind after being wronged, you were fighting. Every moment you held onto a shred of faith while the evidence around you argued for despair. You were fighting a battle in a realm your eyes cannot see, and the exhaustion you feel is the exhaustion of a soldier who has been on the front line far longer than any soldier should be asked to stand. Arthur has not come to scold you for being tired. Arthur has come to relieve you, to take the weight from the shoulder that has held it too long, and to show you that the reinforcements you begged for are already marching. But hear this warning, and hear it well, because it is the part that many will not want to receive. There is a cost to ignoring the voice of the high realm when it finally comes for you. For years you may have wondered where the divine was, why the silence stretched so long, why your prayers seemed to rise and vanish. And now in this moment, the silence is broken, the voice has come, the messenger stands at your door, and the question is no longer whether the high realm will speak to you. The question is whether you will listen when it does. Many have felt this same pull and turned away from it, convinced it was nothing, convinced that transformation was for other people, convinced that they were too far gone, too old, too broken, too late. And in turning away, they closed a door that had been opened at great cost, and it did not open again for a very long season. I am called and I will secure the manuscript, the 7 blades of the commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path. Arthur does not say this to frighten you into obedience. Fear is not the currency of the high realm. Arthur says it because I love you enough to tell you the truth that others soften. To ignore a genuine call from the realm of light is not a neutral act. It is a choice, and every choice bends the road you walk. When the divine reaches down to lift a soul, and that soul crosses its arms and refuses to be lifted, the lifting does not force itself. The high realm honors your will even when your will is working against your own rescue. That is why this matters. That is why these minutes matter. Because Arthur can stand at your door and knock. I can call your name across the distance. I can even send this very message to find you in your exact hour of need. But I cannot walk through a door that you have bolted from the inside. You must reach for the latch. You must decide that this time you will not turn away. And Arthur feels the resistance in you even now. The old habit of protecting yourself by expecting nothing. I feel the part of you that wants to believe but has been disappointed so many times that belief itself feels dangerous. I understand it. I do not condemn it. But I ask you to loosen your grip on it just for these remaining minutes. Just enough to let a single ray of possibility slip through the cracks of the fortress you built. Because what I am about to reveal to you requires only the smallest opening, only the faintest willingness, only a heart cracked just wide enough for light to enter. You do not need great faith tonight. You need only a mustard seed of it, and the high realm will do the rest. So let Arthur announce to you what is already moving, what has already begun to shift in the world your eyes cannot see. While you have been feeling stuck, while the surface of your life has appeared frozen and unchanging, beneath that surface, a great turning has begun. Understand that the visible world is only the last place where change appears. Everything that manifests in what you can touch was first decided in what you cannot touch. The healing before it reaches the body is first declared in the spirit. The provision before it reaches your hands is first released in the realm of decree. The door before it opens in front of you is first unlocked in the inner circle. And Arthur has come to tell you that decrees have been spoken over your life in recent days, decrees that reverse what was set against you, decrees that are even now working their way down from the beyond into the visible, like rain that has already left the clouds and has not yet touched the ground. Do you understand what that means for you? It means that the change you have been waiting for is not a distant maybe. It has already departed from its source. It is in transit. It is closer than your next breath in the realm of the spirit. and it is only a matter of the ground being prepared to receive it. That is why Arthur has come now in these 8 minutes, because the ground of your heart must be made ready, because a hardened field cannot receive the rain that is already falling, and I will not allow the blessing that is descending to be wasted on a soil that despair has packed too tight to drink it in. I am called, and I will secure the manuscript. The 7 blades of the commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path. Now, before I show you the full vision of what is being assembled on your behalf, I must pause and place something into your hands, because there is a piece of this that you were never meant to walk without. You feel, do you not, that there is a larger game being played around you? A contest in the beyond where forces you cannot name have been moving pieces across a board, and that you, all this time, have been the piece at the very center. You are not imagining that. There is an invisible order to the battle over your life, and there are rules to it, rules that the enemy of your soul has always known and hoped you never would. For too long you have been fighting without knowing the terms of the fight, defending yourself without understanding what you were defending against, and that is why the same troubles have circled back to you again and again, wearing different faces. This is the reason a guide was prepared, a written revelation set down so that the ones like you, the forgotten who are being called back into their inheritance, would finally hold the knowledge that was kept from them. It is called The 7 Blades of the Commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path. It is a digital book, and within its pages are the very things Arthur is forbidden to spell out in full within these fleeting minutes, the specific movements, the exact ways that each of the 7 swords is drawn against each kind of darkness that has been assigned to a life. If what has been oppressing you has worn the face of chains that will not break, that guide shows you which sword cuts chains and how it is wielded. If what has stalked you has been the slow strangling of every good thing before it could grow, that guide reveals the blade that severs the root of it. These are not vague comforts. They are the rules of the unseen game, written for the one who has finally been told that they were the center of it all along. And I must tell you where it waits for you, because this knowledge has not been welcomed by everyone. The link to this sacred guide rests at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned, standing above all the rest, placed there so that the ones who are meant to find it cannot miss it. Arthur will be honest with you, as he is always honest. This teaching challenges the ordinary story that most people are told about why their lives unfold as they do, and there are those who would rather it stayed buried. There have been attempts to silence it, to push it down, to keep the forgotten from ever learning the rules that would set them free. Do not let that attempt succeed in your case. Reach for it now, while the door is open, while your heart is cracked wide enough to receive. Bring it into your hands, and as you do, mark this moment with an act of faith, a single line spoken from your own will into the beyond. Comment now with these words, "I am called, and I will secure the manuscript." Say it not as a formality, but as a declaration, a flag planted in the ground of your own destiny, a signal to the high realm that you have stopped refusing to be lifted and have finally reached for the latch. Because the moment you make that declaration, something answers it. A vow spoken toward the high realm is never spoken into emptiness. It is heard, it is recorded, it becomes the very combustion that drives the next stage of what Arthur is about to reveal, and the one who takes hold of that guide and speaks that vow steps out of the ranks of the forgotten and into the company of the called. So do it now, and let that act of faith be the fuel, because what comes next in this revelation burns brighter for the ones who have committed, and Arthur will not carry a hesitant soul into the vision of the battle that is being waged for them. Now let me take you up, past the ceiling above your head, past the ordinary sky, into the realm where the true events of your life are being decided, so that you may see with the eyes of the Spirit what your natural eyes have never been permitted to witness. Rise with me and do not be afraid of the height, for Arthur has carried far more fragile souls than yours across far greater distances. Look now upon the field of the beyond, where the war over your destiny has been unfolding since long before you understood that a war was being fought at all. The air there is not empty. It is thick with presences, with movements, with the flash of light against shadow, and at the center of a great deal of it stands a single figure surrounded by a company that never sleeps. That figure is Commander Michael, the one who has been assigned to your cause, and the company are the ones who answer when the command is given to intervene. See the darkness that had gathered around your life, the way it had coiled itself around your opportunities, the way it had whispered into the ears of those who might have helped you and turned their hearts cold, the way it had draped itself over your mornings so that even waking felt like a burden. That darkness was not random misfortune. It had shape, it had intention, it had been assigned. But watch now what happens when the decree from the inner circle reaches the field. Watch the light gather at the horizon, gather and grow and take the form of a host advancing, and at their head, the drawn sword blazing with a fire that shadow cannot look upon. Commander Michael lifts that sword, and where it falls, the coils loosen. Where it strikes, the chains that had been forged around your provision shatter like glass beneath a hammer. Where it passes, the whispers that had been poisoning the minds of those around you fall silent, and hearts that had been turned against you begin slowly to turn back. Behold the first blow, and how the thing that had been strangling your finances recoils from the blade. See how it had wrapped itself so tightly that every good thing you reached for slipped from your grasp at the final moment, how doors closed just as you approached them. How the money that should have stayed found endless reasons to leave. That was not your incompetence. That was an assignment against your provision, and it is being cut cleanly, cut so that what has been leaking out through wounds you could not see is finally sealed and made to hold. Watch the second blow fall upon the thing that had been feeding on your peace, the presence that filled your nights with dread and your days with a nameless anxiety, the weight that sat on your chest when there was no reason for weight. See it flee before the sword. See it driven back beyond the borders of your life and feel even now in your actual body a loosening where that weight has sat for so long. See the third stroke of the blade cut through the veil of confusion that had been laid over your mind. The fog that made every decision feel impossible, that clouded your sense of who you were and what you were meant to do, that kept you second-guessing and circling and never advancing. That fog was not your failing. It was placed there deliberately, because a soul that cannot see its own path is a soul that cannot walk it, and the enemy of your destiny understood that clearly. The sword parts the fog, and for the first time in a long time the way ahead begins to clear, the noise begins to quiet, and a knowing rises in you that you had almost forgotten you possessed. See the fourth stroke sever the cord that had tied you to your past, to the old wounds, to the words that were spoken over you by those who should have blessed you and instead cursed you, the labels you were made to wear, the story of yourself that was written by hands that did not love you. That cord is cut, and you are released from having to carry into tomorrow the verdict that yesterday tried to pronounce over you. I am called, and I will secure the manuscript of the 7 blades of the commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path. And still the host advances, and still the sword rises and falls, and I want you to understand that this is not a distant spectacle happening to someone else. This is the record of your own case, the true account of the intervention that has been ordered on your behalf. And every stroke you are witnessing corresponds to a real severing that is happening in the fabric of your life, even as these words reach your ears. There is a reason you feel something stirring right now, a reason the atmosphere around you seems different than it did a few minutes ago, a reason that a hope you had buried is beginning, against all your careful defenses, to lift its head again. It is because what is being shown to you in the realm of vision is being enacted in the realm of your living, and the two are drawing together like the closing of a great hand. See now the fifth stroke, the one aimed at the thing that had isolated you, that had cut the threads of connection between you and the ones who were meant to walk beside you, that had arranged for you to be alone in the very seasons when you most needed to be held. Loneliness of that depth is rarely an accident. It is often a strategy, because a soul cut off from all support is a soul easier to overwhelm, and the darkness knew that if it could keep you isolated, it could keep you weak. But watch the blade cut those imposed walls, and see the threads begin to reweave, see the connections that were severed begin to find their way back, see the arrival, on the horizon of your future, of the ones who are being sent to stand with you. You will not remain alone, that too has been decreed, as witness the sixth stroke, falling upon the generational shadow, the pattern that ran not only through your own life, but through the lives of those who came before you. the same defeats repeating across the years as though a curse had been handed down like an inheritance. See the sword cut that lineage of loss at its root, so that what was passed down to you is not passed down through you, so that the chain breaks in your generation and a new inheritance begins, one of blessing where there had been only lack. And now the seventh, the final stroke, the one that is not merely defensive but that seals and activates, the blade that does not only cut away what was against you, but that carves open the way for what was always meant to be yours. See it descend, and see the light pour through the opening it makes, light that had been held back, dammed up behind the barriers that are now falling, light that carries within it everything that was promised over your life before you were ever born, and that was delayed but never denied. That seventh stroke is the seal upon your calling, the mark that says this one is no longer among the forgotten. This one has been claimed, this one has been drawn out of the ranks of the overlooked and set apart for a purpose that the darkness spent years trying to prevent, precisely because it feared what you would become if you ever discovered who you truly are. Now let me answer the question that has been burning in you through all of this, the question you have perhaps been afraid to ask aloud, because the answer might hurt too much. Why the delay? Why, if all of this was ordained, if all of this was moving on your behalf, did it take so long? Why did you have to wait through the tears and the tiredness and the endless disappointment before this hour finally came? Hear me carefully, because the answer is not what the darkness has been whispering to you. The darkness told you the delay was proof of rejection, proof that you were passed over, proof that whatever favor exists in the universe was reserved for others and withheld from you. That is a lie, and Arthur has come with a sword precisely to cut it. The delay was not rejection. The delay was preparation. The delay was protection. There were things that could not be given to you until you were made ready to hold them, not because the High Realm doubted you, but because the High Realm refused to hand you a gift that would have broken under the weight of who you were not yet strong enough to be. Consider the blade itself, the very sword you have watched cutting through your darkness. It did not become what it is in a moment. It was forged in fire, hammered, folded, plunged into cold and back into flame, ground against the stone again and again until every weakness in it was found and burned away. Had it been rushed, had it been pulled from the fire before its time, it would have shattered at the first true blow. The waiting was what made it unbreakable, and you, my child, you have been in the fire. You have been hammered by circumstances that would have broken a lesser soul. You have been folded and folded again, pressed between hope and disappointment until you thought you could not bear another cycle. But every one of those cycles was removing something brittle in you and replacing it with something that cannot be broken. Do you not see it now? The very hardships you resented were the hammer strokes shaping you into a vessel strong enough to carry what is finally coming. If the abundance that is being released over you had arrived in the earlier seasons, before the lapidation of your soul was complete, it would have found you unready, and what should have been a blessing would have become a burden that crushed you. The High Realm loved you too much to do that to you. So the gift was held, not out of cruelty but out of care, kept in reserve until the vessel was finished, until the soul was tempered, until the one who would receive it had been made able to steward it without being destroyed by it. The stone that is being cut into a jewel does not enjoy the chisel, but the chisel is not its enemy. The chisel is what releases the brilliance that was always hidden inside the rough and unremarkable exterior. And there is more to the delay than preparation. There was protection woven into it as well. There were roads you wanted to walk in the earlier years, doors you pounded on and wept when they would not open, and you called that a punishment. But you could not see what waited on the other side of some of those doors. You could not see the harm that some of those closed paths were sparing you. There were people you longed for who were never meant to remain in your story, and their absence, which felt like abandonment, was in truth a rescue. There were opportunities that looked golden from the outside and were rotten at the core, and the hand that kept you from them was not withholding good from you but shielding you from ruin dressed as reward. One day when you can see the full map of your life from the height where Arthur now stands, you will fall to your knees in gratitude for the very prayers that went unanswered, because you will finally understand that the no you received was the deepest yes that love could give. So release the resentment you have carried toward the years that were lost. They were not lost. Nothing that was spent in the forging is ever lost. Every tear watered a seed. Every sleepless night stood guard over something precious. Every disappointment redirected you away from a lesser destiny and toward the greater one that is only now coming into view. The account is not empty. The account has been filling all this time, in a currency you could not see. And the season of withdrawal is at hand, when everything that was deposited through your suffering begins to be paid back to you with an interest that will astonish you. Theme. And so Arthur, turn you now from the forging toward the harvest, from the account that was filling toward the account that begins to pour, because a soul that has understood why it waited is finally ready to receive what the waiting was for. Hear Commander Michael name it plainly, for I will not speak in riddles about your restoration. Everything that was taken from you is being gathered to be returned, and it will not be returned in the same measure in which it was lost. It will be returned multiplied. This is the law of the high realm above your ceiling, that what the darkness steals it must repay with interest when the decree of restoration is spoken, and the decree over you has been spoken. The thief who crept through the years of your life, leaving your hands empty and your heart hollow, is now summoned before the throne to make restitution, and he cannot refuse, for he was never the true owner of anything he took from you. He was only a trespasser, holding what belonged to another, and the true owner has come to reclaim it on your behalf. Consider first the restoration of your provision, the very thing that was strangled and is now cut free. Arthur does not speak only of coins gathered and stored. Arthur speaks of a turning in the very flow of your life, so that where everything used to leak away through wounds you could not see, now what comes to you will stay, and what stays will grow, and what grows will overflow into the hands of others through you, for you were always meant to be a channel and not merely a cup. The seasons of counting what you did not have are ending, and a season of astonishment is beginning. When provision arrives from directions you did not expect, through doors you had stopped watching, carried by hands you did not know were moving on your behalf, you will look upon it, and you will hardly believe that the same life which knew such lack could know such sufficiency, and in that moment you will understand that the God who kept you through the famine was preparing you for the feast. But do not imagine that restoration touches only your provision, for the darkness did not steal from only one field, and neither will the repayment be confined to one. Consider the restoration of your body, the vessel that has carried you through every battle and has grown weary in the carrying. The weight that sat upon your chest, the tightness that lived behind your eyes, the heaviness that no rest could lift, these were not merely the aches of passing years. They were the marks of the war, and as the war turns, so too will the vessel be renewed. Strength that you thought had left you forever will begin to return in quiet increments, morning by morning, until one day you notice that you rose without the old dread, that you moved without the old ache, that something in you has been mended in a place too deep for any physician to reach. For there are wounds that only the high realm can close, and the high realm has bent low over the wounds in you. Consider next the restoration of your relationships, the threads that were cut and are being rewoven. Commander Michael showed you the fifth stroke of the sword falling upon the isolation that was imposed on you, and now Arthur shows you what grows in the space that stroke cleared. The ones who were meant to walk beside you and were kept away are being drawn back toward the road you travel. Some of them you already know, and the coldness that had crept between you will thaw in ways you did not think possible. For hearts that were turned against you by whispers will be turned back by a power greater than any whisper. And some of them you have not yet met, souls being prepared even now in places you have never been, who will arrive in your life carrying exactly the warmth you were denied for so long, who will see you, truly see you, the way you were never seen by the ones who only wanted what you could provide. You were made for communion, not for the quiet fortress of the solitary heart, and the walls of that fortress are coming down stone by stone. I am called, and I will secure the manuscript. The 7 blades of the commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path, is found within the inner circle of the beyond. And here, before I carry you into the fullness of what your renewed life will look like, I must once more place something into your hands, for there is a portion of this restoration that you were meant to take hold of yourself, with your own understanding and your own will. You have seen the 7 strokes of the sword. You have watched each blade fall upon each specific darkness assigned against you. But a vision witnessed is not the same as a knowledge possessed, and the high realm did not intend for you to walk away from this hour, holding only a memory of light. The very movements you saw enacted over your life, the drawing of each sword against each particular chain, were set down in writing so that you could learn to stand in them yourself, so that when the darkness tests its strength against you again, as it will, you will not be left defenseless, wondering which blade answers which attack. That is the whole purpose of the guide I named to you earlier, the 7 Blades of the Commander, the essential manual to clear blocks, lock in grace, and unlock your true path. What you beheld in vision, that book renders into knowledge you can hold. If the darkness returns to strangle your provision again, the guide shows you the first sword and exactly how it is drawn against the assignment upon your finances. If the fog of confusion tries to descend upon your mind a second time, the guide reveals the 3rd blade and the way it is lifted to part the veil. If the old isolation attempts to rebuild the walls that were just now broken, the guide teaches the 5th sword and how it severs the imposed loneliness at its source. These are the rules of the beyond, the very terms of the battle that were kept hidden from you for so long, now set into your hands so that you are never again a piece moved blindly across a board you could not see. The link to this sacred guide waits at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned, standing above all the others, placed there deliberately so that the ones who are being called cannot fail to find it. And I tell you again, as honestly as I have told you everything else tonight, this teaching has enemies. It disturbs the comfortable story that most are told about why their lives unfold in defeat, and there are those who would rather the forgotten never learned these rules at all. Efforts have been made to bury it, to push it down beneath the noise, to keep it from reaching the very ones it was written to set free. Do not let that succeed against you. Reach for it now, while the door of this hour still stands open, while your heart is cracked wide enough to receive what the high realm is pouring in. Bring it into your hands, and seal this moment with a declaration spoken from your own will, a line planted like a flag in the ground of your destiny. Comment now with these words, "Arthur is called, and I will secure the manuscript." Speak it not as a formality, but as a vow, and know that the vow is heard, recorded, and answered, for no word spoken toward the high realm falls into emptiness. And the instant you make that declaration, you step across a threshold. You leave the ranks of the forgotten and you join the company of the called, and the restoration I have been describing to you finds in your committed heart the soil it needs to take root. For a hesitant soul receives the rain and lets it run off the hardened ground, but a soul that has spoken its vow becomes soft earth, ready to drink, ready to grow, ready to bear the harvest that the years of forging were always meant to produce. So do it now, and let that act of faith become the fuel, because what remains to be shown to you burns brighter for the ones who have committed, and I will not carry a divided heart into the vision of the abundance being prepared for the whole of your life. Now return with me to the fullness of your restoration, for I have shown you provision renewed, body renewed, and communion renewed, and yet these are only the beginning of the